Gary Euler, and I was the original farmer here at Quiet Valley. And since that, I've been retired, and I enjoy growing plants of all types in all ways. Here in the sunroom, and this is our sunroom, it's a sitting room most of the time, and in the spring we use it for growing plants. So we moved the furniture out, and we're growing plants.
And I'm Ian Haddad, and I'm the interim farm manager here, and I assist Gary with some planting and transplanting, as well as managing things out in the outdoor garden.
Okay, I wanted to first of all talk about why we grow them inside like this, because with the season we are in zone
5.
Zone 5, and that means it doesn't get warm enough to grow many of these crops until June. And so we start them inside to give them a 6 to 8 week start, so we can put them out in the garden by the 15th of May.
So here in Monroe County, we're a Zone 5 agricultural climate, and there are a few different zones, all the way up to, I believe, Zone 9, being much hotter. Down south, you deal with a higher zone, and if you go up towards Canada, Vermont, and Maine, you go lower in the zone. So we're right in the middle, which means we have a very good growing climate. And so we can start things in the greenhouse here around mid-February, and we start cold weather things that are hardy, like cabbages and broccolis and Brussels sprouts, that we're gonna put out at the chance of last frost, which in Zone 5 is about April 15th. And that's when we can, when farmers can plant things outside without fear of a killing frost coming in and wiping the crop out. And so when you're farming, or when you're planning on what crops you're gonna seed, it's important to know what's gonna do well earlier when it's colder, and what you can wait to seed or direct seed out in the garden after chance of last frost, for when things are a little warmer, and things like cucumbers, melons, and tomatoes will really thrive, as opposed to when it's cold. So Gary's going to talk a little bit about how seeds germinate and how we plant them.
Seeds will germinate with a temperature of about 75 for this type of plant, and we have that temperature in here so they can get started, and we put them in the soil. They need oxygen, water, and warmth to germinate. If any one of those are missing, why, you won't have germination. Before I had my greenhouse outside and my sunroom, I grew plants at the farm in early spring, and I dug a pit in the ground and put boards along the side and put glass sash, old sash, across the top. But to heat it, I had, in the bottom, I had 18 inches of horse manure. And then I put the soil over top of that horse manure. And the fermentation, decomposition of the horse manure would heat that soil just right to grow early tomato and cabbage plants. And that's the way it was done in the early days here on the farm. And I'll show you now. I'm planning to have a sterile piece of wood. I mean, it's clean. It's not something I picked up with lots of damping off that I talked about. So tomatoes are fairly good size. So I'm just going to put about a 1/4 inch row in here and take my seeds, and these are large red cherry tomatoes. For this time of the year, this is the first of the tomatoes that I have. Now there's some seed in the pack. They are in there. They need to be covered with tomato plants, so I just take my fingers and I pull that shut like that with the soil, and then I firm it with the same block of wood, which is clean. Firm that down. Then I will water it, but I will water it with a fine, fine mist that will not move the soil around and dig holes in it. Now these are peppers that I planted sometime, and they're just starting to come up. And the ones that were the warmest came up sooner, and the ones that were cooler are a little bit delayed, but they'll be up soon. As soon as they germinate and come out, then I need less heat, so I put them under the light.
So here we have some peppers that Gary has growing really well. They look really healthy, but when they get to about this size, their roots want to spread, and with the depth of soil they have here and the concentration of plants that are in this container, they won't be able to grow much bigger, and they'll be fighting for nutrients and space in the soil. So what we want to do once they get to about this size is we want to transplant them into something that is a little bigger and gives each individual plant a space to grow. So this is a 6-cell pack, and so what we did, we just filled it with soil and we evened it over. You just take your hand, firm it down a little bit. And so then, once we are ready to transplant, we take our finger and we just kind of dig in until we get a couple plants at the base of the roots. And you can see that we wanted to get the roots out with them. And you want to be gentle with these. You don't want to tear them apart. They are fragile little sprouts. So you just try and tease them apart a little bit, making sure that each one you bring out has some roots, because that's how it'll spread down. And so what I like to do is I like to make a little hole in the dirt that's just about the depth of the roots that you have out, and you gently let it down in there, holding it while you're doing it. You don't need a death grip on it, just nice and soft, and then you can just firm around it so that it has stability for when it grows around the stalk of it. And so that's one.